Another thing I wanted to talk about is work-life balance. So from what I heard before, work-life balance is something that a lot of people can struggle with as a very junior doctor. And of course I was concerned about that. And being somebody with a lot of hobbies, I thought, you know, if I'm not able to really pursue my hobbies, then I might resent work. However, what I have learned from my 8 years of working as a doctor is that the actual job of being a doctor energizes me so much that it's a hobby in itself, if that makes sense. And if sometimes people can go to work, I don't know, they work a job maybe they're not so content with, and then they really look forward to their hobbies or activities in the evening after a long day to energize them. Whereas I found so much enjoyment from work itself that I'm not really relying on hobbies to make me happy or content. Having said that, I have been regularly making time for my hobbies, such as illustrations, decorating my room. I think that actually counts. Yeah. Photography, filmmaking. In fact, earlier today I was making a film, like a very short film, for a campaign for one of my sponsors. I touched on this in my previous video where I talked about my full journey to my illustrations and how much the actual work of creating art energizes me, and it makes me feel so fulfilled and happy that it's something I want to forever incorporate into my life. Having recognized the benefits of pursuing my hobbies, I made a conscious effort over the last several months to really just pursue those and make sure that I'm practicing those skills regularly. And I feel that might have contributed towards me feeling that I have a good work-life balance. Another thing that I've been really fortunate to have is my support network just sort of accessible. I'm living at home. Even throughout this pandemic, I was very, you know, I highly considered moving out, but then I had to weigh up moving out with the effect that could have on my mental or physical well-being, being away from family as a very newly qualified doctor in a pandemic. Another thing that was brought to my attention right at the start, back in August 2020, of when I started working, was that, you know, a lot of doctors struggled to sort of switch off when they went home. I have two things to say about that. So I struggled to switch off for a long time in terms of just dreaming about work-related stuff and not having enough time to unwind before going to bed. I'm finishing late, I'm dreaming about work in my dreams, and I'm waking up and I'm going to work, so it just felt like 24, 48 hours of work. So that I struggled with. That made me realize that actually on the way home, and even when I do get home, I would rather spend some more time staying up to do fun things that are completely not related to work rather than going straight to bed. Another thing is, some of my colleagues, especially the slightly more senior ones, said is that whenever they went home, and it was still the case then, that they'd think about what's going on with certain patients. I was aware of that. I was aware that this could be a thing that affects me. However, one thing that I have been doing, and this might be the reason why I feel that I'm quite good at switching off from work and having like a work-life balance and not letting work stuff spill too much into my personal life, is that at the end of the day, before I leave work, I ask myself, is there anything from this work day that I could go home and continuously think about? And if there is something where I think, okay, if I go home, I know I'm going to be thinking about this, then I stay on for a little bit longer, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, to just make sure I've brushed up everything such that I can go home and sleep in peace. Additionally, anything that I'm concerned about, I hand over to whoever is staying on in the evening. I try to make sure that they have all the details for the patient that they need to know of. Even if my handover is, okay, this patient has been unwell during the day, can you please keep an eye on the observations? Just so when I go home and I am on my way home, I can think to myself, okay, a colleague of mine is taking care of the patient. I trust my colleague, they are qualified, so that I don't have to be losing sleep over that. Because the worst thing I feel that I can do is compromise my sleep quality and risk a poor quality of sleep impacting on my productivity, but also my ability to care for patients the next day. That is not where we want to be. So yeah, for those reasons, I feel that I've maintained a pretty good work-life balance. Another thing I wanted to quickly touch on is physical and mental well-being. Given the toll that this pandemic has had on so many of our mental and physical health, I was very conscious about maintaining good physical and mental well-being such that this pandemic didn't cause a major deterioration in my own health. Every day I practice mindfulness and I make a conscious effort on a daily basis to reflect on my day. I reflect on the good things, the bad things. One of the ways that I do this is by journaling, whether that's in the night or whether it's on my way home and I'm just writing this into somewhere that only I can access. And I feel that over the last few years, especially after I had psychotherapy, I've learned to manage my mental health in a way that is functional and that I'm able to stay resilient and not be majorly shifted in my peace of mind when there are external life events. So thankfully, and I'm hoping it stays this way, my mental health is at its all-time best. And I'm really hoping that it continues this way for the years to come and forever. A similar thing goes for physical health. I realized quite early on the way that physical health affects my mental health. When my mental health is good, I look after my physical well-being. When my physical health is not great, it eventually affects me mentally. So I personally have to keep both of them up to scratch so that I can just stay happy. A part of this is recognizing when I'm not physically well. So I recently had this time where I felt sick and then I didn't go to work. And whilst I was sick, I picked up the camera and spoke to the camera for like 15 minutes. And over the week, I edited this video and posted it to YouTube. So there was one colleague who had an issue with that. I still don't know who the colleague is, but they said something about how, you know, I was well enough to make videos from home but not well enough to go to work. And that really made me feel a certain way, because I'm sure it's possible to be well enough to do certain activities but not be well enough to look after patients for a whole day. And whilst I was at home, I thought to myself, okay, you know, no one really talks about what happens when doctors get ill. And from my experience, I know that there's a culture where even when a doctor is feeling really unwell, sometimes they still rock up to work. And my understanding from the guidelines is that if you are unwell to the point that you think it can compromise patient safety, then you shouldn't come to work. And here's another thing. You can 100% be unwell enough not to take care of patients, but well enough to do other things like eat and drink and talk. So when I came home, I picked up this particular camera. At the time, I was living in the bathroom, so from the sofa, whilst being wrapped up in my duvets, I picked up the camera and spoke to it for about 15-20 minutes just to give you guys an insight of what happens when a doctor gets unwell, but also to highlight the point that you need to look after yourself if you guys are healthcare professionals so that you can look after those around you. I had somebody comment on this video in a negative way and it got to my supervisor at work, and I had this conversation with my supervisor. I brought it up because I was just like, you know what, I kind of want to gain perspective. If there's something still bad about what I've done, I want to hear it because I am forever learning. And fortunately for me, my supervisor was actually in agreement with me, and my supervisor mentioned a story to me about this doctor once upon a time coming into work knowing that he was very unwell. So first thing, as soon as he said that to me, I thought to myself, okay, this is a really red flag. You know, if you are so unwell and you know that's going to affect your ability to function at work and look after people, then you should stay at home. But anyway, that doctor ended up getting so unwell at work that he collapsed. I won't say under what setting, but he collapsed. And apparently a lot of people, a lot of other colleagues were saying, oh my gosh, this is something to admire. And let's just say we were not of that opinion. If you are unwell, you shouldn't be at work if it's going to affect your ability to take care of people. Following this experience, but also having reflected on the situation back then, I still stand by the fact that it's important that when doctors get unwell, because we are humans too, that we take the time to re-energize and to feel our best selves so that we can be productive and look after patients. Also, this situation with getting unwell highlighted to me the fact that I am in tune with my mind and body, and that makes me really, really happy, because during my earlier years of university, I would wait till I'm very unwell before I sought help, rather than sort of being in tune with my body and recognizing actually there's something wrong here, there's something that might require intervention. So yeah, I check in with my mind and body every day, and I think that's a big contributory factor to me maintaining good mental and physical well-being. So now that we've talked about my first 2 placements, as well as, you know, work-life balance, as well as getting unwell and basically looking after yourself, and how I basically haven't burnt out, I thought I could talk to you a little bit about my next placement. So my next placement is respiratory medicine, and here's the thing, being on surgery for the past 4 months, I did do some medical locum shifts near the beginning where I thought to myself, okay, I'm on surgery, but I don't want to forget medicine because I have a medicine placement after, but also, you know, I've worked so hard during my geriatrics placement, I don't want to forget what I've learned. I sort of was working so much that I didn't really get time to make videos for you guys and do other non-work related stuff. So then I took a little break from locuming in medicine. So over the past months I hadn't done any medical shifts, and you know, I'm starting my respiratory placement on Tuesday. No, on Wednesday. It's currently Monday, so in 2 days. And I don't want to walk in just having forgotten all of medicine. So I did a locum shift over the weekend in medicine, going back to geriatrics, and that was actually really satisfying. I feel that the skills and the thinking style, the systematic approach that I had learnt months ago was still there, and it was just a matter of practicing that and just picking up the pace. So I'm feeling really excited about starting my respiratory placement on Wednesday. I'm really hoping that it goes well, and I'm hoping that there's more tutorials and vlogs that I can make for you guys. If you like this video, then please give it a big thumbs up. I'm really keen to know what your thoughts are on some of the things that I have mentioned in this video, so let me know by leaving a comment below. If you love the video, then hit the subscribe button and make sure to turn on the post notification bell to make sure you don't miss the next video. You'll see me in the next one. Mwah.